medical medium liver rescue, protecting your pancreas, which brings us to the why of all this fat processing. Why does your liver put itself through on this? Why doesn't it just take a rest once in a while? Why doesn't it pass on some of the work to another organ? The liver performs this function even when it takes nearly all of its reserve, all of its energy and all of its vitality, because it has a higher goal, saving your life. It starts with oxygenation. Your liver senses whether you are in code green, code red blood, or in between by staying highly attuned to the oxygen levels in your bloodstream. The more radical fat we consume, that is, when the majority of a food calories are derived from fat, whether healthy or unhealthy, the more radical fat in our bloodstream, the less oxygen in our blood. When the liver senses those lower levels of oxygen, it goes into bile production mode to break down and disperse those fats and thin the blood, in large part because oxygen feeds your brain and heart. Without oxygen, these organs can't perform with ease. They labor. So when we adhere to a food belief system and try one of those high protein diets, which are also high fat, also every high protein diet is high in fat, whether you are told it is or not, regardless of whether the diet is vegetarian, vegan, based on animal protein, or anything in between. Without realizing it, we are also starving the brain and heart of oxygen, regardless of how much exercise we get, and straining the liver beyond belief. There's more. Another major reason why your liver is committed to doing this work is to protect your pancreas. Why your liver is a workhorse and a warhorse. Your pancreas is a delicate flower. One of these flowers' functions is to produce its vital nectar, the hormone insulin, to regulate blood sugar. Your liver tries to protect the body from excess fat because otherwise the pancreas takes the hit, forced to produce more and more insulin over time, eventually becoming erratic in its hormone production and maybe even losing the ability to produce insulin at all. Without insulin, we end up with diabetes. Your liver works hard to break down and distribute fat as it can to keep lingering fat out of the bloodstream so it won't get in the way of organ function or the nervous system, or indirectly hurt or hinder the pancreas, leading to diabetes. With the overabundance of radical fat in almost everyone's diet, the liver can't protect us from excess fat. Entirely overwhelmed, the liver distributes some extra fat to the lymphatic system. This protection mechanism for the brain and heart puts the fat in suspension in the lymph route. Thought is not on roads. When fats are pumping through the lymphatic system, the immune system weakens and white killer cells can battle viruses, bacteria, and toxins as well as needed inside the lymphatic system. It's not the liver's or the immune system fault, it's the radical fat we have been trained to eat throughout our lives. The more fat hanging around in the bloodstream, organs, digestive tract, and lean fruit, the more insulin is needed to try to force sugar through and around the fat saturation so it can enter into the cells and the body can function. With the bloodstream filled with fats, for example, the nervous system starts to stiff since it runs on sugar plus mineral salts. The glucose can't easily find its way past fat to nerves. Trying to get life-sustaining glucose into organs, muscle, and the nervous system while meeting resistance from excess fat is the true unknown meaning of the term insulin resistance. The pancreas doesn't only overproduce insulin in those moments when sugar and carbohydrate are consumed. If you have very high blood fat from a high-fat diet and you are running on fat, vegetable, and green juices, your pancreas will still produce just as much insulin and insulin resistance will still be there, even without the carbs. It's just that the symptom won't show itself until you get a craving and reach for pasta or bread or something sweet and that carbohydrate enters the bloodstream, in which case a blood sugar test will indicate a problem. Everyone will say that carbs are the instigator, when the reality is that healthy carbohydrates are not the problem. They are like a forensic team, a UV light that reveals the real problem. You know the kind I'm talking about. The blue lamp that makes visible the blood on the walls and body light fruit on the floor. Turn it on, suddenly you could go from standing in what seemed to be a pristine hotel room to standing in the middle of a crime scene. No one blames the lamp. We know it's the light of truth working for us to solve a mystery, not working against us when it reveals a secret. That's how we need to think of healthy carbohydrates, the heroes, not the bad guys they reveal when high fat has created a cramped skin. If the fat ratio in a diet were lowered and more food like pumpkin, sweet potatoes, squash, zucchini, berries, and other fruit were consumed, insulin resistance would reduce and blood sugar would become more balanced. The pancreas would also be safe from pumping out extra insulin. Remember nature. Healthy sugar and carbohydrate are not the enemy, they are friends. It's excess fat that becomes the bully on the school playground. Freeing your liver. Have you ever fought for a person or a cause in your life that was important to you? Now you have the perspective to see that your liver is of just as much importance. When you know that every day your liver fights for you, you can start to fight along with it. It's not an invisible battle anymore. Maybe you can't even fight for your liver, in which case it's not an invisible battle either. You can take away some of the circumstances that put it on the defense in the first place, and you can give it a rest here and there with some of the suggestions we will explore in part 4, Liver Salvation. You don't need to change your whole lifestyle. You don't need to become obsessive about fat. Awareness is everything. Knowing that a certain food choice has a certain effect You can move forward on your own terms, fully informed. Choice by choice, you can make your own decisions rather than relying on the competing opinions out there that are based on chance, not the truth. The truth is that it's not a choice to take care of our livers. It's an honor and a privilege. When your liver doesn't have to spend quite so much time and energy shielding your pancreas from fat intake, it frees up vitality to perform all of its other critical and amazing functions. You start to look better, feel better, because your most loyal companion is able to look out for you better than ever before. That begins with holding on to critical reserve of glucose for your time of need. Reserve that can mean the difference between having a nervous breakdown when faced with a challenging stressor and calling it a bad day while keeping your cool. It's the difference between night and day. Chapter 3. Your life-giving